Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is not a paid request, this time for Yule. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of reviews, commentaries, re-reviews, what have you, reactions, topics, you can feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. I also have a second YouTube channel in case anything happens. I also have older videos on the website Odysee for those who want to see those. All links are down below in the info box. And I don't know why I'm so out of it. Maybe because in the scheme of action films today, with a few exceptions, and there are some exceptions where they're very fun, they're very entertaining, satisfying, the action genre in the mainstream are a bit in trouble. Yeah, I'm one of those that just sick and tired of superhero Marvel movies and things of that nature. So it was refreshing to go back, thanks to Yule, and see films like Eastern Condors. Now this is the old DVD. I believe there is a Blu-ray. I just haven't had a chance to pick it up. But Eastern Condor stars Sammo Hung. You also have Yuen Biao. Sammo Hung actually directed the film, and he worked on the action choreography, as well as Corey Yuen, who'd go on to work on films like the Transporter movies, among others. Now, pretty much what this is, think of a Hong Kong version of The Dirty Dozen. It has a great mix of martial arts, gunplay, some pretty solid standout action sequences, and the plot is pretty straightforward. At the beginning, it's set up how in Vietnam there's an old American bunker filled with missiles, and the authorities decide to get 10 Chinese Americans to go over to Vietnam, destroy this bunker, and if you're able to do it, there were prisoners, you get a pardon, you get to be an American citizen, and you get $200,000 in cash. Now granted, we don't get a big sense of character development, because it's 10 characters, and even the lead guy, Sammo Hung, you don't really learn anything about the characters. You don't really get to know any of the characters in terms of, other than a brief, the people at the beginning are given briefs as to who this person is and what they did to get in jail, but it doesn't really go much deeper than that. So, like, Sammo Hung is there for, I want to say it was voluntary manslaughter or something. We didn't really find out why that happened. It's a catch-22. On the one hand, maybe it's for the better because it makes the movie go at a very fast pace and never gets boring. But on the flip side, like I said, you don't really get to know much of the characters, so that when some of them die, I'm pretty indifferent as to, okay, I didn't really know that person. Okay, that person stuttered. Okay, that person, he tried to hit on one of the 3 Cambodian rebels. Okay, that guy was the one guy's brother. I mean, even one of the main guys, all we know about him is that he wears these glasses or goggles. He is pretty annoying, and he always wants to quit. He always wants to quit. He's complaining about stuff. That's how we really get to know him, and he's actually one of my few nitpicks, complaints about the film. I really did not like that character at all, and when I get to the ending, I'll mention how that's prevalent. But for the most part, I would say this is easily one of the better Hong Kong movies, especially in this genre of jungle action movies. This came in 1987. As a few friends of mine would say, I guarantee the success of Rambo First Blood Part 2 got to play here. Because Rambo First Blood Part 2, I mean, it was a huge success in the US, but worldwide, like, people started finding out about Rambo, knowing about Rambo, and so many movies. Yes, granted, Missing in Action had come out before that. But Rambo 2 and the John Rambo character just became part of the pop culture in such a worldwide fashion that a lot of people try to rip it off in different countries. There was Strike Commando with Red Brown. There was Italian ripoffs. There was all sorts of stuff. And this is a ripoff. It's still doing its own thing. Like I said, it's more in tone with the Dirty Dozen, but I have to believe at least a little bit that the success or word of mouth of that movie helped get films like this made. Now, Sammo Hung, he worked a lot with Jackie Chan. He was one of Jackie Chan's brothers, not in blood, but in the way that they grew up in the Peking Opera School together, along with the other guy that's in this, Yuen Biao, and how they would go through such almost torture as kids to prepare to act and sing and dance and do martial arts at these opera schools, of how they operate back in the day. And then they went on their different paths. Sammo Hung, he was in Enter the Dragon. If you watch, I just depend on which cut of the film, but now it's the cut you find everywhere. Well, actually, maybe it isn't all the cut. Like I said, I'm not knowledgeable. I love Enter the Dragon, but I didn't grow up with it as other people did, so maybe I'm thinking of another scene. But Sam was actually fighting Bruce Lee and training at the beginning of Enter the Dragon. That's Sammo Hung there. He was also in The Man from Hong Kong. He had a bit role in that. He directed Jackie Chan in the film Mr. Nice Guy. He starred with Jackie Chan in a few films. Wheels on Meals being one of them. For a few years he was on this TV show called Martial Law on CBS, which they even had a crossover with Walter Texas Ranger at one point, which I really liked that show. A guy here somewhere. Martial Law was a pretty entertaining show, especially the first season. Kind of wish it was a longer show. But anyway. I always liked Sammo Hung. I've seen not as many as I could. Like Encounters of the Spooky Kind I have not seen. And a few others. But I did see Enter the Fat Dragon. I mean, that's what it's called. That's a take on Bruce Lee after Bruce Lee passed away. That's a pretty entertaining one. I quite like that one. But I would say of all the Sammo Hung films I've seen, this is my favorite. This is definitely easily my favorite. Now, the other guy that's in this, which is not even on the cover of this DVD, which is crazy. They don't even advertise him. It's Yuen Biao. Yuen Biao, he was also in Wheels on Meals with Sammo Hung and Jackie Chan. He was in a film that, I can't remember the name of it. It was the one, Iceman Cometh, I believe it was called. It's kind of like a little bit of Highlander with quite a bit of Hong Kong. That was a pretty decent one. He did a film with Cynthia Rothrock, and I forget the name of it, but it's a film where you had two different endings. One's a very downbeat ending, one is a very upbeat ending. I forget the name of it, but that's a guy who's very agile, very quick on his feet. Definitely knows what he's doing in terms of martial arts. He's a guy that the team meets later on because he's in Vietnam and he's kind of in between. He doesn't really pick a side. He has this godfather that he talks to. He gives people treats that he finds and contraband that he finds, and ultimately gets pulled into the group and helps them out throughout the flick. Now, what makes the film work is if you're going into these type of films, you're going into it because of the action. And the action, like I said, has a nice mix of martial arts as well as gunplay. Among other stuff. I mean, there's a point where some of our characters are on a cart with an ox pulling it, and they're being shot at by the bad guys. You have to shoot back. There's a point where you have blow up boats, enemy boats, which reminds me a little bit of Rambo First Blood Part 2. You have a bit where Sammo Hung and Yuen Biao have to sneak among the jungle to take out the bad guys, and Yuen Biao is using his agility. He's doing like a bungee jump bit where he grabs people and takes care of them. Sammo Hung, he has this weird thing with the plants. He takes these leaves and he's able to work it so when he does it, the sharp middle part of the plant shoots out like a projectile and hits people in the neck. I thought, okay. I mean, I don't know if you could do that, but it looks really cool. It's unique. It's something I haven't seen too often. There are points where he's Sammo Hung. Sammo Hung probably got in the best shape of his career in this movie. Just for I understand, he's like, I'm supposed to be a guy, run around the jungle, and perhaps a former soldier. I gotta get in better shape. So, I mean, he's still bigger, but he's a lot more lean than he's usual. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, he's a lot more, usually a lot more wide, but he definitely slimmed down a bit. He's still a big guy, but like I said, he really worked his ass off in this, and there's a lot of great moments with him. There's a bit where the bad guys have this 50 caliber, and Sammo has to jump on these metal plates that bounce them off in order to get to where he needs to go, and takes people out with a machete. At one point, he cuts a guy's head off. At one point, he gets a 50 caliber, like Rambo would do later on in Rambo 4, or like before this, the Wild Bunch. You see a 50 caliber. And machete foo, heavy machine gun foo. There's a bit in the film where our characters get caught in the rain and they're brought back. You get a little bit of the deer hunter with the Russian roulette. Like I said, it keeps going at a very good pace, so you have pretty decent, I don't know where they shot it, but it very much looks like the jungle. It doesn't look fake or phony. Like I said, it doesn't really stop too long for it to get boring. There's always something happening. There's always something going on. Like we have the setup, and as they're going to Vietnam, it cuts to the 3 Cambodian ladies. They're rebels that are going to help our lead characters, and they're kicking ass. They take out these bad guys so that when the plane comes by and they parachute out, they won't get shot at. And at one point, like, one flips over a guy, so he's on like this, and the other girl jumps and, I swear, slams her knife right into his bumhole. I swear, it's like right into his bumhole. And I felt it like, ew, like, Jesus. Well, I mean, if that happened, I would be among the dead as well. I'd be dead as a doornail as well. The thing I remember the most, and I saw this back in the day on cable, I think when I saw it, it was at the point where it's the third act in the bunker. In the cave, the underground bunker with all the missiles. And I just was flipping through channels and was at that scene. And went, what is this? And I see this really well done martial arts choreography where Yuen Biao is fighting these soldiers, do these great moves, like this wonderful shot where he puts his leg up to kick the guy in the chin and the guy flies back. Or Yuen Biao does this kick in a nice wide shot and the guy flies back into this vehicle. Or when the bad guy is supposed to be a Vietnamese general or colonel. I forget which one. I want to say it's the Vietnamese. The thing about this character is that he giggles a lot. That's kind of his trait. Yeah, I can't remember if a colonel, general, can't remember, but that's actually played by Yuen Wah. If you remember Super Cop with Jackie Chan, there's Jackie Chan's character has to go undercover and befriend a bad guy and get in with his group. That bad guy's name is Panther. Well, this guy is that same actor. So the guy who plays the giggling bad guy, he plays Panther in Jackie Chan's Super Cop. Now, there is another character, and I'm trying to remember if it is the same person, because the way this is marketed is Yuen Woo-ping, and then it has this guy here. So, am I led to believe that this is Yuen Woo-ping, the same guy that would choreograph the Matrix films, among other movies? Or is this like a weird case of advertising? Because this is Yuen Woo-ping. If so, I didn't realize that was that guy, and he's a. If so, okay, but I didn't really. It's not like he got any action scenes or such to really showcase much of anything. But again, if that's the case, that is pretty neat. That is pretty interesting. But no, actually, I want to look that up. But like I said, one of the few nitpicks I have with the film, um, it, like I said, if you like action films at all, if you like martial arts films at all, if you like any film similar to The Dirty Dozen or even Rambo, is easily worth a watch. Like I said, if you gave me a top 10 favorite Hong Kong films, this would easily be in there. Because I remember being satisfied when I first saw it and still was to this day. Yeah, I think it is that guy. Yeah, it is him, the choreographer. Okay, cool. Because this guy, I mean, he would go on to. I think he helped direct Jackie Chan's The First Drunken Master, and see, did he do the Tiger Cage movies? Actually, let me make sure. Yeah, the Tiger Cage films, which I reviewed. He did choreography on the Matrix films. He worked on some of the Kill Bill films. He worked on Fist of Legend with Jet Li. So that is him, okay. I did not realize that was the same guy. That's pretty cool, though. But, yeah, sorry about that. I just wanted to double check. So, okay. I should have done that beforehand, but it just occurred to me. It just popped in there, as they say. Like I said, I love the ending. The set looks like a James Bond type of set, and its massive scope. I mean, you got, again, machete fun, heavy machine gun fun, or is it machete fu, heavy machine gun fu, 50 caliber fu, kung fu, like all sorts of stuff melded together. Like I said, the only issues I have with it, spoiler alert, spoilers, is that, like I said, you don't have a lot of development on the characters. I mean, really, one is there to just be cannon fodder, where he stutters, and then when they go out of the plane, they're supposed to count, but because he stutters, he counted too long, and he didn't pull the chute. So right off the bat, I just needed someone to die off the bat so that there's 9 of them left. Like I said, because of the lack of development, it's not like you really get a handle on a lot of the characters. So when they die or not, it's you're pretty indifferent for the most part. And granted, you can still like the character if there's not big development. There's plenty of films that has happened, but I mean, also that's kind of the catch-22 when you have so many characters in there. Maybe that's bound to happen. But maybe that more goes into the 3 people that live. Super spoilers is Sammo Hung, Yuen Biao, and this other guy. And I don't know why this guy was one of the last 3 to be standing. The guy with the glasses and or goggles, whatever, and he's annoying. He's always complaining. He's always bitching. He's always whining. I'm like, why does he get to live? Like, why does that character deserve to live? He barely did anything but complain. He did a little bit of shooting at the end, but that's it. Like, why him? I just don't understand. If you don't have a third person live, it should have been one of the Cambodian women, and particularly the leader, and the actress's name is Joyce Godenzi. I really liked her. She came off as a badass. She helped them a lot. There's a point that she finds out one of her sisters are a traitor, and that has to be taken care of. And I thought this bit at the end was a bit forced. They get to the bunker, they're ready to blow it up, but then the remaining two Cambodian ladies says, no, we need this, we need these weapons. I thought it was forced. Just number one, they know that the bad guys are right on their asses. Like, they know this for a fact. That pretty soon, you look at how massive this place is. How the fuck are they going to get help and come back and not worry about someone fucking stealing all the shit? They, after a brief fight, they end up having to help anyway because the bad guys are there. It's really just for the guy. They, one of the other things is that they went to a village as a subplot to save this guy who's one of the commanding officer's brother. And there's a guy who fakes being mentally ill, but then you realize he's faking it because he knows there's a traitor and finds out it's one of the Cambodian rebels. But then during that scene, one of the two kill him in this fight, and then Sammo Hung has to cut the leader Joyce Godenzi's hand off. He's like, sorry, but you made me do it. Was that all really necessary? The whole thing where they have to have a brief fight and then the bad guys come. It's like, well, we gotta have a way for her to lose this hand so that when she gets to like the one fight at the end, she's able to kill the guy, but she dies as well. I thought that character deserved a better fate. I thought that character deserved a better outcome. And I think you easily could have done it where the guy with the glasses, his brother has died. He finally gets some courage or grows some balls, some hair on his balls, and goes out in a blaze of glory. Does something with bravery. You know, the guy was always wanting to quit. And have the Cambodian girl live. And be one of the three. And either she wants to quit this life, or I'm going to leave you at it, and she's going to go back and keep going on with the fight. I think that would have been much better. I think that would have been much more satisfying. And to me, in a way, it just makes more sense. Because who cares about this other third character? Like, I care about Sammo Hung, Yuen Biao, but I don't care about this other guy. So I thought that was a mistake on the screenplay part. That's just me. But like I said, if you like Dirty Dozen type of action, if you like well done choreographed action scenes, especially in the third act, if you enjoy gunplay, you know, there's a scene on a bridge where like Sammo Hung jumps into a truck with grenades and has to hold them off. And then he's trying to hit something. They grab his arm, so he lets him go. And they all get out of the Jeep, the truck, and the truck blows up. This nice usage of slow motion. And when fight scenes happen, there's some nice wide shots, so you get to see how agile and well trained these folks are. Maybe a little bit more background into at least Sammo Hung and Yuen Biao's characters. Maybe a little bit of how Yuen Biao got here in the first place, being in Vietnam and living in between. Maybe a little bit of how Sammo Hung got in jail, like what led him to it. Maybe a little bit more of that. Not just the brief in the beginning, but maybe there's a little bit more to that. Like I said, I understand that with this many characters, if you tried to develop each one, it would be like 2.5 hours long. Which is probably, if it was made today, it would be. But like I said, the other characters, other than Sammo and Yuen Biao, and again the Joyce Godenzi, the others were kind of meh. I mean, like for example, Uncommon Valor. I looked at that movie, which I love to death, and I care about Brett Brown and Fred Ward and Gene Hackman and Patrick Swayze and Randall Tetz Cobb, and because they have like different like personalities that really flow through. And even then, they do a little bit more setup with each character. Well, here's kind of like a brief mission statement. Like I said, to repeat one last time, you're going into this for Hong Kong kickassery, and you're getting that and then some. And I would say it's easily one of the better films of its kind in that era. And if you haven't seen it, it's highly recommended. You would get a kick out of Eastern Condors. It's on YouTube, and it's an English dub. And the dub is fine. I mean, I've heard much worse. I've heard better, but I've heard much worse. But if you don't like subtitles, on YouTube there's an English dub version of the film. And like I said, it's easily worth the watch. Definitely one of the better Hong Kong movies, especially in that era. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.